So I want to welcome you to another episode of my new show called The Roll Call. And this recording will basically appear both on YouTube and also on my podcast. And the format that I've kind of been following for this, at least for the now 2 episodes that I've done, is I spend a little time talking about some current events and some news. And then we also have an opportunity to hear from some of your fellow members of the comic book community. And so I hope that episode number 2 that you're listening to right now is as enjoyable as episode 1 was. And if this is your first time watching or listening to this, I am Reggie, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and you're listening to The Roll Call. So the very first thing that I want to actually talk about is something that I've been talking about on the channel recently, and I want to give you guys some updates, and it's really around COVID-19 or coronavirus. And it was basically recently announced by the World Health Organization, the director of the World Health Organization, that COVID-19 is now considered a pandemic. And a pandemic is basically defined as a disease, a virus that basically spreads around the world where there is no natural immunity against this virus. And so as a result of that, a lot of people end up getting sick. And so the World Health Organization has now declared that COVID-19 is a pandemic. And they have landed on that because there are now roughly 120,000 cases of coronavirus infections around the world in 114 countries. And that is just astounding. That is astounding. I mean, it still pales in comparison to the numbers for influenza, right? With roughly, 1 billion or so people that actually get sick. But this is still something that we should be aware of. And again, even with influenza, there is no natural immunity to influenza the same way that there isn't one to COVID-19. But 120,000 cases around the world and 114 cases, and around 4,300 people have actually lost their lives, which is definitely a very, very sad thing. And thousands more around the world are actually in hospitals fighting for their lives. And so this is something that we definitely want to be aware of because it affects the world, it affects our neighbors, it affects our economy, and it also affects our hobby. And that is also part of the reason why I'm bringing this thing up, right? This is a health issue that we should all be aware of. And I definitely want to encourage you all to go out there and get some updated, accurate information from reputable sources. But I also want you to think about the ramifications of what is happening on our hobby, because it is having an impact. And specifically, there was a press release that was recently released by Diamond regarding the Diamond Retailer Summit 2020. Diamond has actually made the decision, because of what is happening with coronavirus, with COVID-19, they are making a decision to actually cancel the 2020 Retailer Summit that was scheduled to take place in April 14th through the 16th, actually. And this summit was actually designed to be done in conjunction with the MegaCon down in Orlando, Florida. And I haven't seen anything that said that MegaCon was going to be canceled, but potentially this is something that could also happen. And so Diamond in its statement says, our top priority is the health and safety of our staff, business partners, conference attendees, and colleagues. We recognize the importance of the Retailer Summit. We thank you for your support and commitment to the summit. We will continue to monitor this situation and look forward to the opportunity to meet face-to-face with our industry partners in the future. And I read this and I share this not because you were planning to attend the summit, but there was maybe a chance that you were planning to attend MegaCon, which I heard and have heard is a really solid event. And I want you to give thought to this, that if the Retailer Summit is canceled, if MegaCon is potentially going to be canceled, and these weren't even taking place until April, there is a chance that other cons and conventions out there that have been scheduled will also be canceled. And so I know a lot of people were disappointed with some of the recent cancellations of some other activities that were taking place. There is a chance that more of these cancellations could occur. And so I think it's important for people to start thinking about that now. If you were planning to attend, if you were planning to obtain signatures and meet with your favorite creators, if you were planning to hand deliver books to CBCS or CGC, you definitely want to start to think about some alternative means to maybe accomplish some of those goals. And maybe you just have to postpone until the future, because we don't quite know what's going to happen with all of these events. So again, just wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to kind of share some of this information with you guys, so as to make sure that you're in the loop, and also just thinking about what the future holds and what the ramifications are. So to this point of the pandemic regarding COVID-19, there was actually an interesting comment that was placed on the community tab by a subscriber by the name of Tony. And Tony actually makes a point here where he says that as a healthcare worker, it's becoming concerning, that being what is actually happening with COVID-19. He says, no need to panic, but certainly a time to be aware of good hand washing techniques and avoiding contaminated surfaces. And so I think that Tony definitely raises some interesting points here. And just anecdotally, I can tell you for a fact that I've never seen so many men that have spent so much time washing their hands in the restroom. And I think that this what is happening with COVID-19 is definitely raising the awareness and the conscious of people around the need to wash hands, to follow proper hygiene, to clean surfaces, to not rub your eyes and things like that. I think people are paying very close attention to how they're behaving because of what is happening with this. And Tony kind of highlights here, as a healthcare worker, that these are some of the things that we can actually do, because there is no vaccine out there for COVID-19. And I think that there are a lot of companies that are actually looking into this right now. But as of now, the best thing that we can do is to potentially stay out of crowds, which is why the Diamond Retailer Summit was potentially canceled, and also just maintain proper hygiene.
So Cash, I want to thank you for taking a couple of minutes to chat with me about two of the books recently picked up. And so I have a couple of questions, but I first wanted to start off with just a note of thanks for making yourself available to me.
Oh, no problem at all, Reggie.
So in the post that I put up that you responded to, you mentioned that you recently picked up two pretty cool books. Can you tell me what those two books were?
Sure. One was a Marvel premiere, number 15. That's the first of Iron Fist. And the other was Marvel Spotlight 32, the first appearance of Spider-Woman.
There you go. And both of those are really nice books. How much, and I never really ask about price, but because of what you posted up, I have to. How much did you spend for each one of those books?
I got those books for about 50 cents a piece.
0.50 cents. Where did you get these two books? Where did you find them?
Well, I buy a lot of collections. Maybe it's 20 books in a stack. Maybe it's 2,000 books that people are getting rid of, and I do that pretty much all the time. Mm-hmm. And I recently picked up a small box, not a lot of comics. I ended up paying, like I said, about 50 cents a book for those, and it was all gorgeous Bronze Age comics. Now, they weren't bagged and boarded necessarily. They were all bagged in. You remember when you go to the grocery store, you have the little plastic bags that you put the produce in?
Oh yes, I know those bags.
They were all wrapped in those, and it had that taped on them. I mean, the things were stuck together like glue because of the tape on the outside had melted. But the books themselves were inside and packed in tightly enough in the box that they were all straight. I mean, these things were all, every book in there was very fine to near mint.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. So, but if mine, like, how did you go about finding this particular collection, or if you want to just make it more general, like how do you go about finding collections like this?
Well, I do all the basic things everybody used to do. You know, you go around to yard sales and flea markets and that sort of thing. And I used to do Craigslist quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But that's pretty much dead these days, even in my area. Now, Facebook Marketplace is probably my number one channel for getting those. And I not only look for people selling, and, you know, they're usually 5 or 6 people a week are selling a lot of comic books. But since I have posted a few times on there, not necessarily looking, but just posted because I was selling a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, I buy these collections. I only keep a few out of each one, and the ones I like, and then I sell the rest, you know, pretty cheap. And I get people who reach out to me, and then I buy from them, and then when they find later on, they'll find other things or other people, and they reach out to me and say, hey, I know this guy, he's got, you know, 20 long boxes, or I know this guy, he has something that his brother gave him. And they reach out to me, I go take a look, and usually I bring home a carload or a truckload of boxes.
So it's not necessarily just naive people, if you will, not naive mentally, but just, you know, new people. It's not just people that find these books and turn around and sell them. There's almost like a community of like collectors. That's almost what I'm hearing. Is that correct, or would you modify that in any way?
Few are people who come into large volumes who just don't want them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they know that there might be a treasure in there somewhere, but they don't want to deal with, you know, 2,000 books and going through and doing the research, and so they just wanted a few $100s to get rid of them. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it is the community. I mean, the 50-cent deal that we started off with, that was great, right? That doesn't happen every day.
It would be great if it did, though, right?
It would be great if it did. But, you know, normally it's usually there's a discount for buying in volume. But people, it's the comic community. They're collectors. They know what these books are worth. They know what their value is. But they have certain things they collect and certain things they don't. Move the things they don't collect, and they buy the things they do. And we kind of go back and forth. You know, I've got 12,000 books in the room behind me that if somebody's looking for something, I've probably got some of it. And they will reach out to me because they know what sort of thing I collect and I'm looking for.
That is fantastic. And so and this is stuff that I did not plan, but I'm going to ask you, if interested in reaching out to you to be a member of like your little community that you've essentially created on Facebook, is there a mechanism or a means for them to be able to reach out to you directly?
You know, this isn't something that I have formally, set up for this purpose, but always my Instagram, which I throw out, pictures of cool comics that I have from time to time, and that is Sinbad Comics, SINBAD, and then the word comics. On Instagram, and if they want to reach out to me and maybe share some contact information, what they're interested in, again, I'm always on the lookout. I can share with them what I'm interested in and pass that around the community if they want to do that.
Cash, I want to thank you, brother, for spending minutes chatting with me and for sharing your story with the comic book community. I'm certain that you're going to have a couple of people reaching out to you very soon.
Oh, fantastic. And Reggie, I appreciate the time, and I always watch your show. I love it, and happy to be a part of it.
If you happen to be looking for a couple of cool reads, here are some recommendations from members of the comic book community, namely Greek Freak, Scott P., and Lawrence G.